Thank you for joining us. These are recorded, so if at any time you want us to stop the recording, please just let us know and we can go ahead and we can do that. And we'll open it up to all of you to see, is there anything weighing on your minds or anything that you want to bring to the group today?
I'm big on celebration. And so I just wanted to acknowledge all of you as the chapter presidents that it's a lot of effort that goes into this position, and just thank you for all that you're doing. And that's amazing. Yeah, I had no idea what I was getting into, and it takes a lot. So credit to all of you, and just a moment of celebration for all of you for all that we've been doing for this year, and will continue to do for 25.
Amy, I love that. Thank you for bringing that to the forefront, because sometimes we forget to celebrate all the things that we're able to do, even if we don't think of them as wins or that we're doing. But you guys are here, you got through the first quarter of the year. So, or for some, it might be, I think Shannon, you guys are about to transition, or not Shannon. Nope, that's a different person. Sorry, I was thinking I saw the face and you look very similar to another chapter president that's about to be at the end of their term. So I was going to say wrapping up, but I think that's great to find those ways to celebrate. Again, sometimes it's just doing and being that active person. So Amy, thank you for bringing that to light. I heard someone say today that we don't celebrate enough of the little wins. So thank you all. And with that, I just want to open up how the first quarter is gone for you. How are you feeling for, we're a quarter of the way into the year, into your positions. How are you feeling with everything? Indifferent? Go ahead, Amy.
I was going to say, for LA, we've been literally on fire. And I mean, this is kind of uncharted waters for us, and having to navigate through those things. We've actually celebrated quite a bit. Our outreach team has stepped up and done a lot for the victims of the fires that we had here in LA, and it's been an experience, to say the least. Completely uncharted waters for us. I know some folks have the hurricanes and tornadoes and other things that come through, but LA has not experienced such a tragic loss like we did this year. And so it's been, as difficult as it has been, it's been rewarding to see our community come together.
That's great, Amy. Anyone else want to share how they're feeling so far this year?
Well, I don't want to sound negative.
Absolutely. This is the space, so go for it.
But I feel like I have not, two things. I feel like the presidency should be 2 years, because I feel like you get started and before you're even halfway started, it's over. So that has been a little bit of a there's not enough time type feeling for me. But also, I think what I've learned about myself through this is that I'm a better doer. I'm a phenomenal phenomenal board member, but I'm probably not as solid of a leader as I am just a board member. I'm more of a doer, I guess, than a leader. And that has been, that's been a challenge, but at 50, we can figure these things out.
Yeah. And Shannon, I think you bring up something great as you're learning something about yourself, right? So how do we get past that? So not wanting to get an answer today, but is there resources or ways that maybe our team can assist you in getting more comfortable in that kind of leadership role with the other board members, with the committees, things like that, that we might be able to either assist you with in the next few months, or even if another person in the future comes on that maybe figures this out, that we can make sure that they've got those resources available as well.
So we're in the middle of a CED change. That's in the early stages, in the works. And I know that you can't have a checklist for everything in life, but and I guess that's kind of where I'm struggling. If there was hey, you're getting ready to go through a CEG change, here's a checklist, here's a transition item. And I would be so happy to help work on a team that wants to develop that for other board presidents. to say, you know, here are all the things you need to remember. Here are all the things you need to do. Because while I own my own company and I hire and fire and know what I'm looking for here, it is different to try to hire staff when you are a volunteer. Um, and the answer to the problem is not for me to move into the chapter office and become staff. That's not the answer.
Absolutely
So,
not. Absolutely
yeah,
not. Yeah.
right. So that is, and as you know, a type A workaholic, that is what my initial gut is to do. So that's something that I would love to be able to see, you know, hey, and the chapter staff, you know, y'all have been wonderful, helping us, you know, when my team is asked questions. But if there was a, hey, you're getting ready to do this, you know, I have a college student and we live and die by the DCP. You know, if we could say, all right, here are the things that you need to remember. Here's how you transition out. Here's how you transition in. So it's just
And
a
I love
thought.
that. And we have some resources, so we'll make sure we get those over to you because we do have a checklist that we
Okay.
usually
Okay.
provide to you. So we'll definitely get that over. Also, give us feedback on that checklist. I know
Okay.
there's a couple other chapter. I know I'm looking at a couple faces on the screen right now that have gone through that process recently as well, and we always ask for feedback back from that too. So after you take a look at it, if there's other things or as you're going through the process, you're thinking of things, like please let us know. Also, as a reminder, we will be doing training with the CED as well to make sure that they're getting onboarded to the bigger picture along with the local picture. So again, we'll put that in place. Emily and Lawrence, who are on the call today, they actually do that with our CEDs. And so again, it's making sure that if they're having issues pulling reports or anything like that, that's not falling on you as the chapter volunteers, that they know who that they can come to kind of get some of those resources, work through some things, or even just share like, hey, I feel overwhelmed. How do I prioritize type of thing? So along those lines, again, I know a couple of you have gone through those CED changes in during your tenure on the board. Do you have any tips or recommendations for Shannon while she goes through this process?
I know.
Hey, this is Art here in the Florida Panhandle. So, I'm going to say right out the bat, you're not doing anything wrong if you're actually out there in the front of everybody doing the job. You lead from the front and you manage from the back. That's how you get more influence with people on your membership base to rally up with you. If they see you getting out there and just grinding the pavement, it counts for a lot more than someone that's sitting in the back office and trying to make decisions. So I think you're doing it right.
Thank you for that, Arthur. Jason, I saw you had come off mute for a second.
And then it didn't want to come back off again. So the CED change is not easy, Shannon. So it definitely is intensive. But I'm going to take it back one more step and then I'll get there. We used to have 2-year terms in Southeast Florida, and we changed it in the last, I guess it's 4 years, 3 years now, to model the national thing. And there's a reason for it, honestly. It started to become too long. I know you feel like it's short, and I'm with you, but that becomes it turns into a locked out club and it gets kind of ugly. And it's 2 years and 2 years and 2 years, and it doesn't really work. And the intention, at least in my mind, is I'm ready for the next president already, so that somebody else can step up and lead, do something different, get that experience and all of those good things. So I hear you. It's a short term, but like you, I own my own business, and I'm very happy to just do 1 year and then go back to being an effective board member in my own way. Because I'm also type A and they're going to do what I say, damn it, or we're not going to be happy, you know? So there is definitely a little bit of that. But the CED process is stressful. The only things that I can tell you is just take a step back, relax. We started we had a very long-term CED, then we had a CED for about 24 months, and then we had to her resign and we had to find a new one. So we were without somebody for a while. But we took it slow and we found the right person. We've got a great CED now, but he's still got a lot of development to go. This is new to him. He's got government experience. He's a great and intelligent human being, but this is something new and different. So you kind of have to, just let them find their own legs a little bit too and not get over it, right? It is a volunteer organization. It will continue to function, and your business isn't going to fail because you don't have a CED, right? So some of those other things have to take precedent. The chapter will survive. We've thrived since we've gotten a new person. It's that new broom, the new fresh blood. All those things come in when it happens, and you get to be a part of that when it happens. But it is stressful, and you're not doing something wrong. You're just passionate about it, and sometimes that can beat you up sometimes.
Jason, thank you for that.
That's great, great, great,
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think, to piggyback a little bit is make sure you're providing that grace to the person. They are coming in, there's a lot of hats to wear, that I'm sure, again, when you are running the chapter during that point where there is no CED, you kind of see all of the different hats, and they might have a really strong experience in one area and not the other. So again, making sure you're providing that grace to them, along the way to again, like Jason said, find their legs with things and really learn the process and what works best moving forward. Roxanne, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, we just transitioned with the new CED as well. It's going wonderful now. We divvied up amongst the whole board, who would take what role. That was like a whole meeting. And I think that was really good for the board because I don't think they saw how much the CED was doing or not doing. We didn't know until when we got the new person and she was like, how about this? How about this? And we were like, we didn't even know that happened. And that's because Nationals did such a great job with training her. And so along with them training her and then each of us that took a role, we did like a quick Zoom call with her one-on-one and said, this is what we picked up the slack. And so now we're, she's pretty much running on her own. But it just, like you said, lots of grace, and we learned as much as she learned. And we are so grateful for our transition, but we couldn't do it without you guys at Nationals and the support that you've given us. We ask on the littlest detail, and you guys always have a good suggestion. And you even came in and helped us with that transition on some Zoom calls. And so just really lean on Nationals for everything.
Kelly, I was
Yeah,
gonna,
go ahead, Ron.
I was gonna just listen, but I think I'm gonna do a little contributing. I am the president, recently elected president, never served as a president-elect member. So I'm the president of the chapter. I was drafted to that position from a member-elect, member at large. I was drafted to that position at our December meeting. The then president wanted 2 terms, and the board, I did not solicit for this. I was drafted, period, stop, end of case. Asked me to serve as president. Now, that started out, well, it's a situation where it was quite obvious that I didn't have the full board support because, but I did get an overwhelming vote in order to get that position, the board position. And what I said at the time is, look, I'll take this position, but I want to be very, very clear what I'm prepared to do. And if you, for whatever reason, don't want it, then don't take me. That's okay. I said, what I need to do is to really get down in the weeds and find out what's going on here and what needs to be done. I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to tell you what my findings are. And then what I will do is, with your assistance and support, without your support, I'm not going to be able to pull this off. I will then, we'll come up with an action plan, something we all can live with, and then attack whatever it is we find. And that's exactly what I did. What had happened was, one of the things, the first things was to take a look at the last time this chapter had done a strategic plan was in 2017. So if you don't know what direction you're going to head, you got problems, big problems. So that my first order of business is let's get that taken care of. The second order of business was to try to identify what's going on here. Where are the problems? Well, one that just reached out and grabbed me immediately by looking at the balance sheet and the income statement says, sweet Jesus, we got to do something about this. All right. So we got a financial need. We have a strategic direction need. And then when you drill down to the next level, look at the organization itself. The way I see it, and you please correct me if you disagree, but we serve three constituencies. The first constituency is property management companies. The second constituency are the community associations, condos, whatever. The third constituency would be the vendors, the vendor community. And the board that we've got is heavily skewed towards the vendor community. The second skew is towards property managers, and then there are two community association members. I'm one of those two. I've had a little bit of experience in business, and I've had a little bit of experience in running organizations as a volunteer. So what I wanted to do was to identify we need to do something to appeal to those constituencies. And one of the things that I learned right from the very beginning is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So the first question I wanted to ask is, how many property management companies are there in our market area? And how many do we have as members? Same thing with community associations. And then focus on what should we do in order to get their involvement, because if you build up the involvement of those two groups, the rest will follow. The vendors will follow. All right. And so that's the plan. Very simply, that's the plan. That's the whole plan. So specifically, what I wanted to do was to implement something from my previous career in banking, bank operations, was to call together a forum for decision makers. Let the decision makers at the property management level and also at the community association level. All right. Make sure that they're tightly controlled, in that we don't want to start to deviate and get into politics. And that's going to be that's critical. You stay out of that. Don't touch that. It's a third rail. And so we did. I actually had, at the meeting that was held in February, which was the first meeting after my election as president, explained exactly what I just told you. I asked one of our board members that I know has a tremendous background in property management, whether she would take that initiative, that responsibility of doing the same thing for property managers. I would take the responsibility of doing, with their support, the community association piece. I said it's absolutely drop dead critical that we get property managers, even the ones that are not on our board right now, they need to be on our committees. We need to get them involved, because that's going to be where the succession comes from. And fortunately, thank God, our director is an underutilized resource. She's incredible. She's really, really quite good, but she was underutilized. And I basically am going to shine a light on her. I want to acknowledge her and leverage her so that she can basically assist. Well, it stands right now that there was we're going to hold a meeting a week from Monday, where I guess you'll call it my come to Jesus meeting. It's either going to be, this is it, this is where we're going to go, this is what we're going to wind up doing. And if you don't agree with that, that's okay. I'm only one vote. So that's being very candid with what I've inherited. And that's what I'm doing. And I want to really thank National for what they've done. Kelly has been involved in this. She's fully aware of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I've asked her, I want her direction or support, because we are a chapter of the national organization. So I'll keep quiet now.
Thanks for sharing, Ron. And I think you bring up a really good point too, talking about the strategy and making sure everyone understands what's going on and how important that is to be thinking about the future. Coming up next month, we've got all of your president-elects coming in to do training And one of the things that we're really trying to get across to them is that forward thinking and looking into the future and making sure that as a board, you are the strategic leaders. It's not just what's happening in the weeds. It's not just, okay, we're having a meeting to discuss what the next education is going to be, or the social, or the gala, or the golf event. But really, what's the direction that the chapter and the organization is going for each of your regions? What are you seeing that are gaps that need to be filled, or things that you need to look into the future, and really that strategy? And I know we come into a lot of the chapters here today and across the country to do those strategic planning sessions and to kind of work through those strategies. But remember to have time for that during your regular board meetings too, of, are we meeting the goals that we set for ourselves? Is there anything else in the future that we should be looking at, and kind of having that foresight of the future of the organization and your chapter and your members in mind, so that it's not just, again, just regular operations, but again, that purpose of the board is really that futuristic thinking as well. So Ron, I really appreciate you bringing up that strategic point. Sally, welcome to the conversation. Right now, we're just kind of reviewing how the last 3 months have gone, any successes you want to share and celebrate, any challenges that have kind of taken place. I know, Sally, you're kind of at the end of your term, where a lot of the others on the call are at the beginning of their terms. So if you have any tips too for them of, kind of as you end out your cycle a little bit, I'm sure that would be great for them to hear some of those as well.
Yeah, I mean, Canada was sort of interesting because we started the chapter right before COVID, and then COVID hit, and so it really gutted the membership and kind of gutted the enthusiasm. And so when I came in, it was a little bit of a sad state. I think there was no money and there was no organization really. And so I thought, just kind of keep it simple, stupid, right? Like we need a good sponsorship program. We need a conference, first of all. So when's the conference going to be? Get some sessions organized, get some education organized for the year, then go out and get sponsors. And so, but the critical thing is, if you want to have sponsorship for January to December of 25, then you better get that program organized in September of the year before. So you get it organized, you figure out what you think the market can bear, get it published, get it out there, start getting the money in the door. And then, get the committees in place to get the events going. And then, so it's quite simple really to get a chapter going. And I think so that we've done that fairly successfully, so now we're kind of financially stable, and things make more sense. So now we're at the place where we can start to think about what other things can we add, because we are CAI Canada, but we've focused very strongly in the last 2 years on the Toronto area because we just couldn't do everything. So the next steps might start to think about, is there room for another chapter in Canada, or how do we support another geography, that sort of thing. But for now, it was just kind of just get a simple program in place of things that we're working. Like you can't keep having committee meetings where people talk about possible education topics, but nobody lands anything, right? You got to get some rubber on the road. So that's my whole, I've been there. This is my end of my 3rd year, and I've been president for this year, and our year end is different. We have to do our annual general meetings in Canada within 6 months of fiscal year end. And so we have to hold it by May. So our transitions are in May, not in December. And so that's why we're a bit out of sync and a little mad at you Americans, but we're okay.
Amy, I saw you came off mute. Did you want to share?
I think when we were just talking about the CED transitions, I was just going to say to Shannon, also lean into us boards that have recently gone through it too. We're happy to answer the questions. And one thing that we learned with our new CED, I came on a few months after she started with the chapter to the board, and kind of have been here through the transitions and the learning curve too. We've allowed Michelle a lot of liberty and creative liberty. It was nice to have fresh eyes on the chapter. Our CED, I believe, had been here for 16 or 18 years. She's been here very long term. And so to hear an outside perspective and some fresh ideas has absolutely changed the chapter in so many ways. It's been beautiful to watch these things come to fruition, and her vision really for the chapter. One thing that we did is our calendar was so heavy with events. being in LA, I mean, we had luncheons every month. We had a social event every other month. We had webinars going on twice a month. I mean, our calendar was just inundated. And something that Michelle did for us was kind of go through and just say, okay, how about not as many, but bigger and better? And we've really watched that come to be, and it has been absolutely beautiful for just the chapter as a whole, the quality of what we're putting out. And I mean, the happiness really of our membership is what we want to look for at the end. And something that we really instilled in her is like just the spirit of what we do, you know, connecting communities through education, advocacy, and service. And so she really took that to heart and has run with it. And all of us on the board, we kind of pinpointed our strengths, and we were like, okay, you handle the financial side, you handle this, you handle that. And so we have kind of taken a team approach to getting her transitioned into the role, and she actually won the Rising Star Award this year. So we've been super proud of Michelle, but it definitely was a team approach. We also leaned into our past presidents council about things like what do we need to keep in mind too. And so it was nice to have the historical knowledge of things that they had experienced and what worked for them or what didn't work for that matter, and kind of go through all of that. So just lean into the team you have around you, and that includes all of us as the chapter presidents as well.
Hey, Amy.
I love that. Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
It's Crystal. Hi, nice to hear your voice. I just wanted to also add, I've been kind of touting LA and a couple other chapters for doing the same thing that Amy was describing, is really looking at the events and creating more quality events. And one outcome of that is financial sustainability. The chapter, I know, is in a much better financial position because they've been able to aggregate everything together rather than have it spread over all of the things that they were offering. And that's been incredibly helpful for the stability of the chapter.
Michelle has created things like the profit and loss for each individual event, and it breaks it down super easy for us to look at too, which has been beautiful to see too. Our past CED, she kept things a little close to vest, and so the transparency that has come with our new CED has been beautiful as well. So we're seeing a lot of really good changes, and the financial aspect has been, I mean, most impactful is seeing these things come to fruition and actually be heavily successful for the chapter.
Great. Thank you, Amy. And for anyone else who's trying to look at like your events or what your offerings are, again, we have a worksheet in the toolkit to kind of do that self-evaluation, because other things outside of that is how much volunteer hours are being spent, how much staff time is being spent. And those are all kind of non-financial and non-butts and seats type of engagement that are taking place, that sometimes we don't realize how much time goes into them that are taking away from other efforts to be able to be accomplished. So we do have that within the toolkit. And then to also add on to Amy's piece about utilizing the group that you have here of your peers across the country that are sitting in the role as chapter president, and even the president-elects, we have on our Exchange network, which is our virtual email platform, we have a group specifically for the chapter president and president-elects, so that at any time, if you have a question for the peer group, you can send it out and everyone will receive that email message. That's the same platform that we use to send the weekly email out to all of you. If you're not getting that weekly email, please let us know so that we can go ahead and look to see if there's something weird in our system or your account of why you're not receiving that. But please feel free to utilize that at any time in between these calls that you might need some feedback from, or again, to share those wins or those concerns that you might be feeling. All right. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up right now today?
Working. There we go. What is that email that comes out? Sorry, which one? There's so many emails. I must admit I get confused.
It's called the
Yeah, so there's
I'm sorry, Kelly. It's called the CAI Chapter Leadership Connection. I send it on Fridays. It will come to it'll come through the exchange to your email, and so you might actually receive it on Saturday morning if you have it set to receive that update once a day. So CAI Chapter Leadership Connection, you can kind of search for that.
I see
And
President's Digest, is that the one? Is that
that's
the
it.
same?
Yep.
Well, it's called
President's Day.
President, so it comes to us chapter President's Digest for Saturday, April 5th, blah, blah, okay.
That's it.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. If
No,
you
I've
want
not,
to
those
receive
go
it,
into my junk folder, so I'll pull them back out of there.
yeah, and if you want to receive it in real time, you can go into the exchange, into that chapter presidents group, and you can set to receive those notifications in real time. There's not a ton of stuff that goes through. Right now, it's really just my emails on Fridays, although I'm super hopeful that after this meeting, you guys are just going to go blow it up. But right now, there's not a ton that comes through. So you could set that to real time if you wanted. So you get it on Fridays.
Sorry, to blow that up, we go to the exchange and we post comments?
Yes. Yep. You can either post if you have something that as a chapter are struggling with, you can post something on there to get feedback. If you're looking for a tool or a resource, you can post that. Or if you have something great that you've done and you want to share, you can also do that as well.
Yeah, it's confusing because when we go into it, the only messages that are there are those connections, right?
It is.
But
It
I
is.
could post a message that says, anybody got any great ideas for purely social events?
Yes,
Absolutely.
To get people to show up. Okay.
Please
Absolutely.
do that. Yes. Yep. And I'm going to post the direct link in the chat so that all of you can go do that right now. So Sally wants to know all of the good social events that you're doing.
Well, I'm just, it totally is striking to me because I have never done an association event that was not education based. Like people come, we do the education, they have a lunch, or they come and they have breakfast and we do a session. Like I have never done one where people would just show up to network and that's it, other than maybe like a 10th anniversary or something. Do you know what I mean? And so I was wondering, so you're like in the other chapters, this run of like, it's time for the CAI folks to get together and go bowling and people show up?
We literally have a big event coming up in May.
Yeah.
Nothing but social time for us to network with the vendors and everybody else. So
And they pay to come.
Yeah, and most of the time it's heavily vendor sponsored. So the vendors will pay for a team, and then they bring 6 managers or something like that. We had a drag bingo at Hamburger Mary's in West Hollywood. We have the gala, which is strictly social as well, but also acknowledging like the awards and all of that. We've done quite a few of them, and they turn out well. We have a membership happy hour that we hold also during the holiday season, and it's strictly networking.
Yeah, I think our challenge is probably that we have so few members. Like we have a lot of attendees at events, but they tend not to be members. And so we couldn't do a members only event. It would have to be open, and then it's a bit confusing, right? People would show up expecting something to happen and then wonder what they were there for. It's interesting.
Yeah, but again, we've seen chapters be successful finding somewhere unique in the area. So we've seen people do like a zoo family day. And so it's, bring your families, and we've got the picnic area and we'll supply lunch and kind of that public relation piece to it too.
Would that be mostly the managers of I don't know what they're called, the association managers that would attend that? Because for us, our target is mostly the directors, so the community leaders, I think you guys call them, the board directors.
Yeah.
And at the board director level, there's no way that individual condominium would pay for them to attend a social event. So they would have to pay personally. Unless it's sponsored.
And truthfully, Sally, if you know that demographic, we just had our one of our chapters in Minnesota. They held a homeowner event, and it was a specific social event for them, and they price pointed with the business partners so that the homeowners could attend for free.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You basically gotta get
but they got enough in sponsorship from the business partners to be able to make that happen. And I think it was a day at the races. They went to a local horse race track, and they did a day there for them. And so the entrance fee was a lower cost, and then they again supplied some food, but otherwise there wasn't a large overhead connected with it. So it might even be looking at some of those options if the demographic isn't able to kind of buy that entry ticket, how to get them in the door or participating, and kind of that movement backwards of, okay, we expect maybe 50 people, backwards we're gonna price it to this point with the business partners and do it that way. Yeah.
And Sally,
Amy,
if
I see. Oh, go
I was just going to say, if you know that demographic that you are really targeting the homeowner leaders, it might be that they don't want to come out to social events. I see mostly with chapters, they're really targeting the managers and the business partners for the social events. Speak up if it's different for you. But you may have to, maybe you could do an education and a social aspect, so
Yeah,
kind of
I mean, that's
tailor.
typically what we do. And I
Yeah.
actually have a huge problem with, I don't like when volunteers are used to organize a social event that turns out to be 90% business partners. And so they're there to try and meet possible clients, so they show up, but meanwhile, there's no possible clients, there's just them. And so then it's like, why have I just used the resources for this institute, which I perceive as being about educating about how to operate communities well? Why have I just wasted a bunch of effort organizing a golf tournament or whatever that didn't actually advance those objectives at all? Like, it might have been fun, but it wasn't really advancing the objectives of the organization at all. So I've always had a bit of a struggle with it. So that's why I'm interested that other chapters do it. I have to presume there's a demand there. But I do wonder how many of those events end up being 80% business partners all kind of looking at each other.
We experienced that in LA, because we are, we have a decent spread of each of the constituencies, as far as business partners, managers, and homeowner leaders. But like, we have an outreach committee. Our outreach committee does a health and wellness deal that they do. And so like, we have hikes, they're completely free to attend. And it's just about building the community and really just about the team that is within CAI, and just really having those connections when you need them. And maybe it doesn't turn into a business deal or however, but it's really about building the community. And again, LA may be different in that respect, but they have the hikes that they do. They did a sound bath. They've done some different things that is literally just about health and wellness and networking. And so those have worked out well for us. We've run into a few times where it's like our bowling event right now. I think we have 60 people registered, 45 of them are business partners. And so now we are tasking the committee, and then also the board is tasked with reaching out to the management companies and saying, hey, guys, we have this great event. You're going to have a lot of, networking time. There's all of these vendors
Please
that are
come to our vulture pit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it works out. And I mean, one thing that we found that's beautiful here is the connections that are made, and really those relationships that are thriving.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I totally support that those relationships matter. Like, we all help each other, right? The contractors get connections through the engineers, and the lawyers give connections to the engineers, et cetera. Like, it all comes around. I worry when I've been involved with other associations where we finally had to limit it. Like, business partners, you can only come to an event if you bring a manager or a director. Otherwise, you're not welcome through the door, right? So you get at least a 1-to-1 ratio. So it can get out of hand, I think, is the issue, even on the education side. But
yeah, we've had to cut back on that too. We have the suitcasing policy and all of those things that you can't just come as a vendor and be a vulture, if you will, to the people who pay to attend, or that are a guest of another vendor or something like that. But overall, I think the tone of those events is really about building the community.
That's very cool.
Thank you for that feedback, everyone. That was a great conversation. All right. Anything else anyone wants to bring to the group? All right. Just as a reminder, coming up in the beginning of May, we've got our annual conference. I'm not sure if anyone on this call is planning to attend. If you are, we do have our chapter leader lounge. It's going to be directly across from the exhibit hall. So if you are in Orlando with us, please make sure you come on by. We'll have breakfast Thursday and Friday morning for you, and we'll have some beverages and snacks throughout the day, along with some other learning opportunities as well for that. If you're not going, but your president-elect is going to be there, please again remind them that the lounge is there. I know I'm looking at Roxanne, I'm going to call you out for a second. I know you spent some time with us in the lounge last year. I think it was pretty beneficial from our conversations. We got to talk and kind of work through some things too there while we were together in person. So again, just to remind them that it's there, it's a benefit to them. And again, to try to make some time to come in and stop by that lounge specifically. And if there is something specific for the chapter, to have them bring that along as well. And we can have some conversations, whether it's one-on-one, connecting them with another person, or within that group discussion as well. Arthur, I see you came off mute for a second.
That was an accident. I'm sorry
Okay,
about that.
no worries. I just wanted to make sure
I mean,
you
but if
had
you need
time
me
to
to talk, I can.
if you want to, it's freely open, right? Um, so Emily, Crystal, Lawrence, anything else you would like to remind everyone or share with the group we've got today?
I can't think of anything, Kelly. Thank you for the great conversation today. It was a little bit of a smaller group, but really engaging and good conversation. And I joke about it, but seriously do, if you have anything in the interim, please use that exchange group. It's there for you. And if you need anything from us, let us know. I did share the the staff transition form in the chat. If you've been through a transition process, if you would take a look at that document, we would love feedback on it. You're the ones that are boots on the ground and have gone through this, so please do provide feedback to us as well.